Welcome to In the Green Room. I'm Kinga.
And I'm Paul, and we're here with Rock Thomas.
The Rock Thomas.
Pleasure to be here.
Right
We're
on.
so excited. We can learn so much from you. I know that the world loves your videos. You have a video that's had over 100 million views. What was that one called?
Yeah, it was a crazy story of my childhood and talking about the relationship I had with my father, or maybe the lack of the relationship with my father. And it just resonated with so many people that they started to share it with their friends. You got to look at this, you got to look at this. And I even had therapists call in and say that they're using it with their clients, teachers using it in classrooms and talking about the fact that when we've been given a label growing up, like you're stupid or you'll never amount to much, we tend to take them on from the people that we love or want love from. And so I was called Pizza Face by my brother.
Not nice.
Right? I had a lot of acne. And even when I look back now,
You have great skin
it
now.
wasn't that bad. But he wanted me to feel bad so he could feel better. And so I started to look in the mirror, repeat it to myself, not go to school, pretend I was sick, feel like I didn't belong. And over time, I shrunk and shrunk and shrunk, which worked well for him. Until about 20 years later, I came across a neuroscientist that was able to help me rewire my brain and change the meaning and then go from pizza face to ruggedly handsome. And so I tell the story in this video of how I reprogrammed my brain and that I used it for different things, like from working hard to working smart, from feeling like just because I was dyslexic, I couldn't become an author. And so you start to be able to upgrade some of the labels you were given and create this sense of empowerment. And I think that's why it was so popular.
And you are an author. What was the name of your latest book?
So I'm an author of several books. One is called The Power of Your Identity. And that's what basically the basis of the video. And the other one is called Your Epic Life Blueprint.
Awesome.
I want to read both of them.
Yeah, and you should.
So, Paul, you're our sponsor today from RV and Go. Can you tell us, do a little commercial for your company?
Sure. So RV and Go, we believe in bringing people closer together. And we're doing that with the world's first free person-to-person platform for RV rentals. So it's sort of like Airbnb for RVs. People can list their RVs for rent on rvandgo.com. That's www.rvngo, 5letters.com. And then people can find RVs that they want to rent. And we just make it really easy. So you don't have to go to multiple websites to find an RV to rent. And we don't charge any fees to the guest, just the credit card processing fee of 3%. Other sites charge 10% or more to the guest. And on the host side, so it's a marketplace. So we bring people together, people who want to rent out their RVs and people who want to take an RV and have a really memorable, amazing, spectacular trip. And we don't charge the hosts any money either. So, other platforms charge huge fees, and so they don't have to mark it up. So we tend to have the best selection and best prices. These are motor vehicles, so you need to insure them, and we have the insurance to do that. It's best in class, and we make a little bit of money off the insurance, and that's how we make our living, and we're just happy to bring people together.
And how do people find RV and Go?
Yeah, so www.rvngo.com, and we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit. I might have missed one in there, but, RV and Go.
I'm excited to take this show on the road with Rock and Paul is here. And we can, I just bought all the new equipment. It'll be exciting.
Yeah, actually, we should do one off an RV.
Do one in an RV. I think that's super cool.
Right?
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Have you gone RVing before?
Not lately.
Rock?
I did years ago in Australia, but I was thinking about it. I contemplated it before I purchased the house I'm in now, and I thought it would be a really good time with COVID and everything. And then this house fell into my lap, so I put it on hold.
Right, great. So just, a little bit about that life story. I don't know if you want to really what you got out of it, and kind of the theme of this show is thriving in challenging times and how you can adopt some of those, ideas or metaphors or techniques or, to really and I don't even know if it's challenging times. We've just had a lot of change with COVID, and everything has changed. And now it's going to a new normal, and who knows what that'll bring. But it has been a lot of change, I think, for a lot of people over the last year. So I don't know if we want to talk about that a little bit.
Well, sure. Something I want to say is I feel like it's made a lot of people, including me, appreciate concerts. Concerts are coming back, and being out at restaurants. And wouldn't you agree that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Montreal, Canada, so I've been watching a bit of hockey lately because for the first
go
time,
Habs, go.
Right?
Exactly, games. We can go to games now.
28 years or something, they're doing fairly well. And it's interesting because in Las Vegas, where they're playing, the stadiums are full. And back in Canada, there's only 3,500 people allowed. And so COVID is very regional still. And some people are opening up and feeling free again, and other people are still feeling pent up. And I've noticed that, there is a lot of mental stress for people. If you've been cooped up for a long time, you can't go out and you can't do what you're used to doing. There's domestic violence. There's all kinds of different things. So I think whatever you do is you want to be able to have a mindset that you can go to routines and rituals that enrich in you, and working out at home or being creative that way. And I think a lot of people have struggled. So I work a lot with people in the space of mindset, and I've noticed that the people that have been used to challenge in the past have reacted better. People that have maybe had a little bit of a softer upbringing, not used to being creative and pivoting, those people have been suffering, and those people have been depending on the government a lot more. And so you got to find a way to, rise up and be excited. I was just interviewing on my podcast this gentleman that has the only man with one lung that has summited Mount Everest. And
Wow.
Yeah. And he's done Kilimanjaro 20 times. He's going to do it the 21st time this summer.
Will you introduce us?
Yeah, of course. And I mean, just his spirit. And we asked him, what keeps you going? And he says, I think it's just the fear of not being fully alive. And so, check in. What is your filter right now? Is it that you want to just be safe and you want to survive and you want to sneak to your death? Or do you want to challenge life and be on the edge and be fully alive and take chances and feel the juice of life?
That's me, passionate.
Right.
No matter what.
And, don't be afraid of failing, and don't be afraid of succeeding. I think people are afraid of succeeding as much as they are of failing at times.
Yeah, and I think we all are. I was reading a book recently called The Upper Limit Problem, and it talks about how people get to a certain level in their finances or a certain level in their relationships or health, and then they sabotage it. And there are these events that happen when we're growing up where, say, for instance, there's a brother and a sister, and the brother does really well at something, and the sister's struggling. And so the parents tell the son, stop showing off in front of your sister. Mm-hmm. Stop telling us how good your grades are. Be quiet about that around her. You're making her feel bad. And so that starts the belief that there's something flawed with you. And then so you get out there in the world, you start having success, and you remember that success means separation. And so you start to fail, or you start to diminish your success. And people wonder why they're a little bit weary of success. And so these events happen in our childhood, and they run the program for the rest of our life. So the journey of personal development is about becoming aware of the programs and then breaking through to the next level.
Yeah, and that could happen in your childhood, but it happens in school. It happens, where the person who rises the tallest, everybody else is trying to push them down a bit, and that's where you start to see the lessons if you're not aware of it, where success is being taught to you as being unsuccessful. Success is a bad thing. Doing what you're best at is a bad thing. Thriving is a bad thing.
Yeah,
I know Father's Day was Sunday yesterday, and I am fortunate to have a great upbringing and great parents. And my dad is passionate about you name it, and so he's really passed that on to us. So I do agree that you're such a product of your upbringing. I know that you're a great dad. I just recently saw that typing video.
Yeah.
That you have to tell people
I don't know
how
if
to
my
find
kids
it.
would agree with you during that period of time, but
Yeah, elaborate on the typing video.
so I grew up on a farm, and I learned from a very young age that one of the probably the greatest skills you can have, and I'm sure you can appreciate this building companies, is resourcefulness. And to me, resourcefulness is you're able to use whatever is available to create an outcome. Most people will tell you that they lack resources. I don't have a pair of scissors to open, the object, and they can't look for something else to make it work. But growing up on a farm, there are dozens of occasions when things break or you don't have the right tool for a job, but you have to close the fence, otherwise the animals get out. So you grab something, you wire, a rope, a stick, a branch, a thing of a tree, whatever, back the car up and block it, whatever. So I became really good at being MacGyver and just finding a way to make it happen. It could be anything. I mean, how many of us have forgot our key in a hotel room and the reception's, way far away and you don't have time. So now you have to negotiate with the housekeeping and they're all trained not to let you in the room, right? But if you're resourceful, you can find a way to convince them, right?
Yes.
So the confidence I created for myself in being able to find a way grew my confidence in anything. So unstoppable, entrepreneurial. There's always a way. I remember once I was about to go on stage to speak, and my staff member came in and said, one of our real estate offices just got robbed, and 9 of the computers have been taken, and they broke the windows. And,
oh, no.
And I was literally about to go on stage, and I said to her, that's awesome. That's really cool. So why don't you take care of that while I go on stage and take care of that? And we'll talk after, right? So you have to be able to reframe. You got to be able to know what's ahead of you, take the task at hand, find a way around it. And so the tool I use is to ask a great question. And so my favorite question when I'm in an adverse situation is, what's great about this? And it directs your focus. And so what's great about this is that I have an insurance company. My staff can handle it. It's happened. I can't really do anything about it right now, so I'm going to deal with the task at hand. So that question in and of itself has saved me so many times from being a victim. And my definition of a victim is when your circumstances dominate you. People are victims when they're like, it's too hot out. I can't handle it, right? Or I'm stuck in traffic. I hate this. Instead of going, I'm stuck in traffic, but I could put a Rock Thomas CD in and I could learn something.
Right. Or, I'm stuck in...
I pray when I'm stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah, or, I'm stuck in my job. Well, go change it.
Exactly.
Go get it. And if you don't like your profession, change it.
Right.
And people change all the time. And if you can change, it's almost like a life reset.
Yeah. And you can use it as leverage, right? You can say, I really hate my job, and then go knock on 10 doors apply for another job. Or you can just bitch and complain about it to people around you and do nothing about it.
Yeah, and be an energy suck.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, that positivity, I feel, is very contagious, infectious. And so I think it really is nice to be around and choose positive people to be close to. I was upset because my dad's in the hospital, and I had just a beautiful conversation with you, Rock, and in just 5 minutes you made me feel better because you convinced me, hey, your dad is going to be 93. You've had a great childhood. You've had a great life with him. He's had a great life, and just go treasure every moment. And, I would say 90% of the time I'm in a good mood and I'm positive, but, sometimes I'm human. And I can.
Sometimes you're human.
And I can.
Sometimes she's an alien.
Just sometimes.
Sometimes I can be, sad, and so Rock really cheered me up, and I think it's the whole mindset.
Yeah, I think
turning it around.
As a coach, I think your primary job is to give people a choice for a new perspective, and that's really up to them. You can say, like, if you go to the buffet of choices, right? We're all meaning-making machines. So you look at your phone and the contract didn't come through and you're losing money. You can freak out and go, oh my God, I can't pay the mortgage. Or you could look at that and go, well, I guess maybe dealing with that person was going to be difficult. There must be a reason that's not going to work out. Or you could say, maybe I can sell them something bigger and better. So there's all these choices you have. And so that's a muscle, I think, that you built. Like coming over here, I had to take an Uber because I got to my Tesla and I had a flat tire. And so I'm like,
no.
yeah. So I'm like, okay, just get an Uber. great I can, right? And had the time to talk on the phone with my mom in the car, on FaceTime, and enjoyed that moment. And so,
Right.
or I could have been totally pissed off and annoyed and upset and frustrated or canceled if I wasn't resourceful, right?
Yep.
So I think these micro choices are happening all the time. At this one time at the airport when they announced that the flight was delayed for 4 hours, and I had trained my body so much that as soon as they made the announcement, I didn't even know it. I stood up and I went, yes! And I'm like, oh, okay. People are looking at me like I'm crazy, right? And I just thought something great's going to happen. So I planted the seed in my mind, I'm going to meet somebody. I'm going to meet somebody. So as I'm walking to the next gate, I'm like, who am I going to meet? Who am I going to meet? Like a kid, like in candy store. Who am I going to meet? And sure enough, there's John Assaraf. Do you know John Assaraf?
I've heard the name.
He was in The Secret. He's
Okay.
also from
yes.
Montreal.
Okay, that's right. The Secret.
And he's an author and a speaker. He's got a big following.
Yes.
And he was on my list to get him on my podcast. And so I see him there, and I just walk straight up to him, and I go, John, we were supposed to meet. It's so awesome. And he goes, we were? And I go, yes. He goes, great. Who are you? Right? And so we chatted. He introduced me to his two boys, and we exchanged books. And then I got him on my podcast. And so just the intention of being open to something else. Otherwise, what were most people doing? Damn it, I can't believe it. Walking with their head down. Missing the opportunities that are available when you change your perspective.
I totally agree with that. I've met some of the most interesting people at airports when flights are delayed, and it's just somehow the universe talking. But that's just a small example. But yeah, translate that same mindset to everything.
Yeah.
Well, if you watch some of my podcasts for the last 5 years, I didn't meet any of those people in my bedroom or my house. and I was married, and we were like glue for 28 years.
Right.
So all those people have been pretty much since the divorce. So
Right. You mean in Brian Wilson's bed? You know that song by the Beach Boys, and he's just crying in his bed. It's like, what kind of life is this? He's a beach boy, man. You should be going out there and surfing.
So I understand what you're saying. I think I believe in God, and God really brings these beautiful people to me. And like even meeting you, it's just incredible. And what's your Arizona Solar,
Arizona Custom Solar, yeah.
and meeting Eric,
Right.
and Brian.
Yeah, and you got to be open, right? And I always say something great happens when I go out. I always meet somebody,
Exactly.
come across something. There's I'm sure we're going to have a relationship going forward. So you got to get out and about, but you got to be open and curious. I think one of the greatest things you can have as a character trait is to be passionately curious, right? Is to ask
I'm
questions
very passionately
and to
curious.
be interested in other people. They say that you don't lose your imagination as you get older. You get older because you lose your imagination.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I love that saying.
That's true.
Paul, I think that you're very curious, and you're great at meeting. You're always meeting people out and about too.
Yeah, out and about. Get that Canadianism in there.
Out and about. Yeah.
So tell us how you went from this farm and then ended up here in Arizona, and how you are speaking all over the world and having 100 million views on your podcasts or on your shows.
I sometimes suffer from the false prophet because I've had some success in my life, and I have 44 different streams of income, and I have multiple businesses, and I'm the youngest of 7 kids. I'm the most successful in my family, and I've helped all of them, and some of them don't want my help. So it's just interesting. And when my father passed away when I was 30, I paid off a bunch of his debts and took care of him, even though he's in Australia. I bought my mom a house 5 years ago, and she was in the senior living, and she was around people that were negative and complaining and old, and she's very active and spicy, but it pulled her down, and she put on like 50 pounds. And so she was starting to suffer from bad knees with extra weight. And then when I bought her the house, she had a place she could garden and do a bunch of things, and she lost the weight, and now she's active and she bikes, and
It's fantastic.
How nice. Where does she live?
she's in Montreal.
Oh, okay.
And it's a 100-year-old house that reminded her of the house she grew up in Holland. And I was actually going to buy it for a flip. and I was taking her out for tea on a Sunday afternoon, and we drove by it accidentally, and I said, "Oh, Mom, I'm thinking of buying this house. You want to see it?" So I brought her into the house, and once she was inside, she started crying. Mom, what's going on? You okay? And it was a typical Dutch house with the house, then the sidewalk, and the road. And that's how they make them, because there's so little land there. There's everything jammed together, and this is a 100-year-old house that was built the same way. The long story short, I thought, well, I put my thoughts together, and 2 weeks later, I bought it and brought 30 of our family and friends over, and then drove her by again for tea. And the day, come in, and it was funny because she didn't want to go in. She goes, "I've seen that house already. I don't want to go in." And I'm like, "Oh my God,
It's your house.
you know?" And you're like, "Mom, I need your opinion on something." "Okay." And so I dragged her in. But the opportunity to do those things, growing up with the mindset of working hard from my teens to I drove a taxi. I worked in construction. I built decks. I worked at anything that was hard labor.
I could see you driving a taxi and just talking to everybody.
I don't know if I talked to everybody back then. I was pretty shy, but I was very resourceful. So, side story, my goal when I rented the taxi for 12 hours was to have the meter running for 12 hours, which is never going to happen. But most guys that would rent it, they'd take an hour for lunch, and they would, whatever. So I would pack my lunch so I could eat in the car. And as soon as I would get a fare, as soon as I pulled up, it was back, this is 30 years ago, I would turn the meter on. Like, I'd honk the horn, turn the meter on. I'm like, "Too bad. You're not outside waiting for me. The meter's going on."
Right.
And sometimes I'd run into the bush and go pee so that I could have the meter on. I was going to stop and pee and then waste 5 minutes of possible money-making time, right? So it's things like that came from my conditioning of working hard. But if you think about it, I had also the belief that I wasn't good enough to make easy money. So presented with some opportunities, I just steered away from them because it wasn't difficult enough. But over time, with the reprogramming of my mind, I went from working hard to working smart, and I went to leveraging.
That's a key concept. You said something that kind of triggered something with me. Your attitude and your outlook on life affects everything, including your health. And just with adopting other people's negative energy, or just allowing your own negative energy to grow, because I do think to some extent you get to choose your emotion and your reaction. And if you choose, if you're negative, you're going to be health issues. I mean, there's correlation with that.
100%. That's when my father died of cancer at 62, and he was very German serious. He didn't exercise, and he ate a very fat-rich diet. He wasn't that much overweight, but he just ate poorly, poor attitude. And you combine all those, because I did the research afterwards, and that creates acidity in your body, which leads to an environment that cancerous cells like to live in.
Yeah. And it may not just be cancer, just anything, even overweightness, diabetes, as you let things, take over, whether it's eating disorders or eating poorly, it just kind of snowballs from there.
Yeah, so I went the opposite way. To your point, is I eat mostly a plant-based diet. I exercise a lot, and I do my best to have a good attitude, right? Is to shrug things off and to change the meaning of things. And so, hopefully I'll live a little bit longer than him.
I would have to agree. My grandma, we've spoken about that. She's 105. She lives in Toronto, and
There's a lot of Canadian connections on this show.
I know.
Your parents and grandparents live long. It bodes well for you.
Yeah.
But I would say the common denominator with my grandma that's 105 and the research I've done on centenarians, they eat mostly a Mediterranean diet.
Yeah.
And I've done some shows on the blue zones and centenarians.
Yeah.
And she has all the common denominators, which are she's a lot of friends, she's very gregarious, she's extremely positive, she eats, as I said, mostly fish and plant-based, and she just says, that's ridiculous, I've been through the war. She's extremely positive, so I would agree.
You got to let things go. Things are not going to go your way all the time, so you just got to let it go. People get so wound up and so upset trying to control the outside world, and it's usually because they can't control the inside world.
And that's why that song, I need a little help from my friends. Is that a Beatles song?
But
I need
It might
a
be.
little help from
yeah,
my
it is.
friends.
I
Yeah.
need a little help from my
Help.
friends, I'm sure.
Yeah, right.
So
Because when you are having a bad day, your friends can cheer you up.
Yeah.
Like you did the other day.
Yeah.
Like you did the other day. Thank you.
You're welcome. So you said something too that triggered a thought in my mind, which is, she just shrugged off, I've been in the war. Now, there's two ways to react to that. You're
Right.
in a world war. And it could be, it's like, holy smokes, I was in the world war, and it was hell and all that.
Maybe she was fine. She went
and
through
I
it.
don't
She's
want
fine.
it to happen again, or something, just a very negative attitude on it, whereas she survived that, obviously, and thrives. But you can take that lesson from every day, like, people who, I'm going to pass this exam in school because I've passed other exams and I studied hard. Take that attitude, not, oh, God, I'm going to fail because I'm a bad exam writer. Or, in life or in business, why start failing now when you've been succeeding before? If you kind of build up that repertoire that, yeah, I have ways to succeed. I have resiliency. I can figure things out, so I'll figure this out. I may not know the answer right now, but I'll figure it out.
How do you encourage your employees, both you, Rock, and Paul?
There's different modes of motivation. For some people, it's money. For other people, it's recognition. And for other people, it's a sense of being part of a team that's doing something, purposeful. When we put on events, the team gets very excited because they know that, there's 50 people or whatever are going to come and their lives are going to be transformed. I just did this event with a few weeks ago, and we had this woman that she's a real estate agent, never sold a home over $1 million. And we did some meditation, some deep work. And within a week of going home, she sold 2 homes over $1 million for the first time in her life.
Incredible.
And she just was like sending texts and so appreciative. And so there are blockages on an unconscious level that we all have. And as long as you're open and willing to do the work, then life does not have to be that difficult. I have learned you can find your audiovisual guy 3 days before the event and just have it happen effortlessly. There's things that, if you're open to it, will happen. And I'm starting a new business with a guy who I just met recently. And it just seems like things are coming my way much more effortlessly than in the past. And I think it's when you start to do the spiritual work and you start to quiet the mind, you create that space and that opening to have access to the infinite intelligence.
I've heard
amazing.
somewhere once that luck is the residual of hard work.
Yeah.
And so success, frankly. And actually success can be fairly easy after a lot of hard work, once you break down those doors. And it just seems like, wow, this is going fast and easy. But it's always based, somewhere on hard work, whether it was even just setting up your background in education or, having the material to do whatever you're going to do.
Yeah, I ask people, what are you preparing for?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, what's an Olympic athlete preparing for? The gold medal.
To win.
Right.
To win.
So what do? They do everything that is required to be the type of person that would win a gold medal. Most people aren't preparing for anything. They're just trying to survive. But if you have a big goal and you want to build a business, you want to change your body, you want to get into a great relationship, then you got to be the type of person that will attract the type of person that you want.
Oh, I love that.
Right? So then you
Yes.
got to, what are you preparing for? And then you look at your daily rituals and routines, and you're like, so many people are like, well, I'll start tomorrow. I call it the curse of someday, right?
Someday never comes.
Exactly.
Tomorrow never comes.
So I'm always preparing for something. I'm preparing for a better version of myself. I have a big pool. I swim every day. I exercise on a consistent basis. I do meditation, yoga. I'm preparing to have the body I want to have so that when I'm older,
I think I see some
know?
muscles. I think you already have that.
well, it's a work in progress all the time.
Is it success is never final?
No, training's always in.
Okay.
Right.
So how many hours a day do you exercise?
There's different forms of exercise, but I would say if you include golf, which I do 2 or 3 times a week, usually it's between 2 to 5 hours a day.
I love it. Okay. I got to step up my game.
But again, I mean, to the blue zones, right? Is a
Yes.
lot of what you can do is like I actually like to work around my house from time to time. I don't want to do
Yes.
it all the time, but you
Yes.
can do things that are actually good for your body, like just picking things up and moving things around and cleaning the pool, gardening, and that mobility actually is good for your body versus just going to the gym and lifting weights. I did a lot of that, but today I do a lot more things that are like yoga and swimming.
And putting music on and dancing. That was something my
Right.
dad loved to entertain and have people, at least every weekend we had parties and get-togethers, and we had music on, and we would just all dance, and it was great.
Yeah.
And that's just another.
I love that.
Exactly. And just coming together with food and friends and all that. So
Now, working out 2 to 5 hours a day, that's a pretty tall mountain. Most people don't do that. I try and work out every day. That's hard. But one thing that I found was really great was like most people work, let's just say 8 hours a day, and maybe they're sitting around. One thing that I noticed really makes a huge difference is just get a variable height desk
Yep.
that goes up and down, and now you can stand for 3-4 hours a day, and then you turn sitting time into standing time, which is infinitely better for your back and for your energy and your core muscles. And then if you really get ambitious, you can put a treadmill under the desk and walk while you work and type at your computer. So you can go to 8 hours a day, and then we all beat the rock.
Well, I love the way you're saying that because that's being resourceful, right? It's being curious about how can I find ways to move my body. People are so quick to say, I don't have time to work out. I call bullshit. You can find a way by doing that. You can walk. Like how many of us are on phone calls? Walk around your house, go outside.
that's what I was just going to say.
Right?
I just got that app, and my goal is to do 20,000 steps.
Oh, wow. That's a
That's
big
my
number.
goal. And
As a matter of fact, when I was in law school, they called it thinking on your feet because when you're talking, you have to be on your feet. And actually, once you get used to it, I do on my phone calls walking, pacing.
In fact, I think you actually can get a little bit more in state. Like how many of you have sat there and then they say something, and you're like, and you find yourself standing and walking around. You're like, really? And then the juices start flowing and you're more engaged, right?
It's just something about if you're walking around, your blood's circulating. You're just
Yeah.
using, and your brain's kind of more engaged. I don't know what it is.
Even I found that if you go for a cup of coffee with somebody, you're like sitting opposite them and there's a certain level of conversation, but go for a walk with somebody and get into conversation and there's a different flow to it.
Yeah.
it's the best way to get together with friends.
Yeah.
Go for a hike.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's a little too hot right now, but hey, we can go walking at the mall.
Yeah.
They actually do that, right? They open up the malls earlier so you can just walk. and
So I know
run.
you have lots of advice about how people can create wealth and how they can have financial freedom. What are some tips that you can give us today?
Well, I use a simple Robert Kiyosaki model, which is on the left side of the quadrant, if you don't know it, is employee and self-employed. And on the right side is business and investor. And so I help people go from employee or self-employed to the other side. And there's a different skill set. There's a different language. So the language of the employee is I work 9 to 5. I got a steady paycheck. I don't have to think about my work when I go home. I got retirement. So it's a language, right? It's a thought process. Self-employed, it's like I own a job. I have to be a little more self-disciplined. I can work as much as I want. But when you go to business, which is a spot I like, is that you have to train people to do what you've mastered, the system. So you buy a franchise and then you have people run that franchise. Like how many of us walked into, say, a McDonald's and the owner is there, hey, how's it going? You don't even know who owns the place. It's a bunch of people being paid minimum wage that work there, and you might never know the owner, even if you knew that place and went there for 20 years, because the owner doesn't want to be there. The business is how much it's worth is how much it makes while you're not there.
Well, I would never eat at McDonald's. It's just trying to throw a joke.
Yeah. So the idea of going to the other side requires a different skill set: hiring, training, firing, systematizing, leveraging. And then eventually, if you can master earning more than you spend, then you can invest and you can become an investor. So now you have people working hard for you and you have money working hard for you. And when you've kind of understood the game there, it's not that difficult. It's just a different set of skills, and those are teachable. And then all of a sudden you can have freedom, time freedom. And I found that when people don't have money freedom, they don't have time freedom, and they usually don't love their life. So I try to get people to the other side where they can start to have this time freedom, spend more time with their family, work out 4 to 6 hours a day, whatever, golf Tuesday afternoon, do cool stuff with their kids on Thursday morning, go to the recital, whatever, instead of feeling like they're a victim and trapped and I have to go to work. So
I love working, and my work is just meeting people and going to incredible places and meeting them.
Yeah.
You've seen my lifestyle.
Yeah, no, but there's so much you say.
But I can learn so much from you.
There's so much you say that's true there. You know, starting a business saw that transformation. There's different worries. You know, you have to worry about everybody else and learn things that are, and you can't do that if you're not curious, if you're not willing to change, if you're not willing to take a positive attitude, if you're not willing to lead, and it just starts with you and inside.
But when you hire great managers like Richard and Jennifer, you don't they take care of watching over the other employees?
They help, yeah, and then it just keeps going from there. And but that's how you grow it. It's just the sum of the people and make sure everybody's motivated and having fun. But it is a transition from working for somebody else and trying to become a self-employed or an entrepreneur or businessman.
What do you look for
Or
when you're
woman.
hiring somebody new in a business, Rock?
So talent to me is people that push you, people that ask questions, people that want to do better and grow and move up the ladder. Anything else than that is non-talent, and non-talent needs to be pushed. And, listen, anytime you have people working for you, you're going to have challenges. People get sick. They have personal situations. They look for other jobs. I've had many people that become my competition, right? Made it look so easy. They modeled the system that I created, and then they went and become your competition. And you pour into them for a year and a half. You buy them a car. You pay off their tax. I've done it all. And then they open up competition. And you're like, are you kidding me? So you've got to be resilient in that degree too, because a lot of people will pack up their business and go home and just go work for somebody else when that happens. I have people that I'm helping scale their businesses and they hire 2 or 3 salespeople and one quits and they get all discouraged. I'm like, dude, you just get used to that. That's just like the day in the life of owning a business. You got to have a recruiting machine and keep on recruiting and don't let it phase you. And so you have to help them build that muscle, which goes back to the mindset. And, as a trainer for Tony Robbins, we help people walk on fire. And it's just a metaphor. It's not about walking on fire. It's a metaphor that you think you can't walk on fire, and then you get yourself to walk on fire and like, well, where else in my life did I think I couldn't handle stuff? And so the more you do those types of activities, the more you build up a mental resilience to be able to handle things that you didn't think you could handle.
Yeah, and that I don't know, confidence bucket that you can draw on that,
Right.
I've done this before, or I haven't done this exactly, but I've done other good things, and so I can do this as well.
Yeah. I mean, when I coach people, I'll do crazy things like have them get in their car from the passenger door. I'll have them,
Really?
Yeah. And climb over the
Why?
gear shifter.
Why?
Because people get so comfortable doing things. And then they get to their thing and somebody took their parking spot and they're all upset for the rest of the day. And I'm like, if you continually pepper yourself with things that are not going to hurt you but are randomly odd, right? Put your pants on with the other leg once in a while. Get out of bed, jump up, and point at your bed and go, I'm going to make you, bed, right? There's a study done where the trains in Japan go very fast. And so there are accidents that happen because they're so quick. People get arms cut off and all kinds of things. So they had the conductors announce what they were going to do and point. And so they would go, I'm putting the engine in gear. I'm closing the doors. And the number of accidents went down by 85% because they were actually consciously verbalizing what they were doing. So for people that struggle in the morning, I teach them to jump out of bed and point at the bed and then say, I'm going to make you bed. And I love it when you're made, because when I come back in the room and I see the bed made, I feel great. And it activates the cells in your body to do something. So there's
I'm that way. I like it
tricks,
to be perfect,
right?
and everything. I don't like dishes in the sink, and
In the days when you don't do it, if something happened and you had to rush out, it feels terrible, doesn't it?
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's yucky.
It's very yucky. I
Yeah.
like things all to be, and it's perfect.
So it's tiny little things like that. It's that 1% better. It's getting yourself to do the things. If I haven't brushed my teeth and I end up in bed and I'm reading and I just remember, I force myself to get out and do it. Because the moment I give into that, it's easier the next time to give into it. And the next time you lose your standards. And before you know it, you just don't want to get out of bed. You hit the snooze button 3 times and you start telling yourself, a story instead of having a commitment to yourself.
I get so excited to wake up in the morning and start my day. I think it sometimes can annoy people because
You're like, who am I going to meet today?
That's exactly
Right.
And even if I go to bed late, I'm still going to wake up early and be excited about that next day.
Right.
And of course, there might be a sad day here and
Not
there.
everybody
about my
has
dad,
a king
but
of personality, though, right?
But you're right.
Rock does.
No,
Rock does.
you're in a league of your own.
But also it's okay for people to feel other emotions. That's what the human experience is all about. But then understanding you get to choose some of those emotions as well.
Yeah, I've recently come up with like a little bit of a frame for that, because I felt myself doing the same thing in coaching people. And so the first box is the victim box, is when you believe life is happening to you. And so you get up and you spill the coffee and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And like you're a victim. The circumstances dominate you. The second one is the achiever. And that's when you're like, oh, I spilled the coffee, but I can change my pants and I can still have time to make another cup of coffee and life's okay, right? You're the achiever. You're going to dominate.
Yes.
The third one is when your life is happening through you. It's when you are more aware, you're more graceful, you're more relaxed, and things just seem to, like the parking spot opens up for you, and a person calls you at the right time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so you're more in harmony with the universe.
Yes.
And then the last one is, when you're the Buddhas and you're one with the universe and you have no needs. It's just everything happens around you, effortlessly. And so I try to think, where am I responding, right? Am I responding this way, or that way? And I found that 95% of people live in the first 2 boxes. So they're the victim, and then they have to, the kids, they're not, hurry up, get ready, and they force. But it becomes so tiring when you are in that, in that achiever box. Mm-hmm. And so
It's pretty tiring on people around you too.
Exactly. So what I found is that the more spiritual work, the more meditation and yoga and the things you do to quiet down your mind allow you to receive more effortlessly and more gracefully. And so that I spent most of my life in these two, quite candidly. Right? A little bit the martyr. I'll make it happen, but it's tough. And I'll fight my way to the top. And it's look at me. I'm carrying all this weight on my shoulders. So as I've gone more over here, things have opened up. So I encourage people to kind of say, where are you responding from? And a lot of people, unfortunately, believe that life is happening to them. And everything, like COVID, the government, my ex-wife, blah, blah, blah. And then they get into achiever for a while. But if they can't live the life they want, they usually blame it on some level that just life is unfair. And I really think that it's not that at all. It's just that you haven't been given the tools to respond in a different way. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
Yeah, I do very.
I feel like if you put out more positive energy out to the world and to the universe, more positive comes back to you.
Yeah.
I really feel that. And on the days, which is probably 6 days a week, I do a hike to this rock. I call it Prayer Rock. And I pray, and literally just things will happen. And I just can't believe it. But if I have a day where I don't get my prayers in, it's not as the day's not as flowing. It's hard to
Yeah, I
explain.
get it.
But that's your form of meditation.
Yes.
And that's your form of what am
Yes.
I going to do today, and what am I going to achieve today? And anybody can do that. They can do it in prayer. They can do it cycling. They could do it meditating. They could do it in a yoga class, and focus your mind and open your mind to what might happen that day.
Yeah, I think you get into, I mean, we're all in this, quantum soup, if you believe anything that Deepak Chopra talks about. And, is how connected are you going to be to that? Or how disconnected are you going to be? And so I think your meditation or your prayer brings you into that connection and allows you to be open to see the things that aren't necessarily available to other people.
Little miracles happen all around me after my prayer.
Right.
It just happens.
Yeah,
Yes.
totally.
So what's on your bucket list? I know you've been all over the world, and you've achieved so much, and you have great kids. And what's on your bucket list?
It's interesting. After having done so much traveling, I, for a while, was like, I just want to be home. And now that COVID has hit, I'm getting the itch to travel again.
Where's home? Here or Montreal?
Well, right now it's here because of COVID. But I mean, home is here, and it's in Montreal.
Okay.
I'm a big believer that there's not just one place on the planet that you should make home. You should have two. Maybe Hawaii is a place some people would want to live, but I'm not an island person only. So for me, the traveling itch is starting again. I want to go back to Europe and Asia. I really enjoy those areas. I enjoy the cuisine of different countries, and I enjoy. It's interesting is I spent a lot of my life making money so I could go to really expensive places, and when I go to Thailand, I'll eat on the street.
Yeah.
With just a family that cooks, in a little thing out on the street, and it costs me like $1 or $2 for the meal, and it's better than going to the Four Seasons, as
Really?
far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
So that's just my way of experiencing, the culture, and you're hot, you're sweaty, there's cars driving by, but it feels so real to me, and so I'll do things like that.
Yeah, travel's fantastic.
it.
You just get to experience different cultures, different mindsets, everything.
Yeah.
It broadens it. I really don't know anybody who travels a lot that would disagree with the thought that it just broadens everything. Your understanding the world, yourself, everything.
So, Paul, you've been fixated on getting this sailboat and sailing the world. I know
Yeah.
that's on your bucket
Yeah,
list.
certainly on the bucket list. Love traveling throughout Europe, Asia. It's just also amazing. Every culture, and even throughout North America, Mexico. It's great. There's so many great, and you always get left with great memories.
Yeah, and it back to the other piece is a new perspective, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting how people live so differently. Some people, like if you go to Europe, they walk a little bit slower, they're relaxed, they take a siesta for a couple of hours, and then here in North America, we're like go, 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 go. Stores are open from 8 in the morning or 7 in the morning till 10 at night, and 7 days a week,
And the concept of a Costco is abhorrent to them, because they're picking up their groceries every day on the walk home.
Right.
Of what they're going to cook that night.
Yeah, so I think as a quality of life, Europeans live a better quality of life, quite frankly. I love to go there for that reason. It kind of grounds me again and really connects me. They cook food with love. We're
My
here.
parents are both born in Europe, so
Yeah.
that's how we were raised.
Yeah.
Very European style.
Yeah. So
We always had fresh flowers and home cooked meal, music,
yeah.
dancing, all that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
See,
I was born in Europe, so yep.
you were
So-
born in Europe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which part?
At Bratislava, Slovak Republic,
Oh, okay.
right across the Danube from Vienna.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something different I find about the European born, right? My parents are both Dutch. I was born here in Canada, but 100% Dutch blood, and went back to Holland every 2 years, and spent time with my grandparents, and
Yeah.
The
Netherlands is beautiful.
yeah, just a huge
Awesome.
garden. Almost always the food was from the garden itself, and so it gives you a different feel for the world.
Right. There's a Van Gogh exhibit coming to Phoenix. I can't wait to see
Wow.
the virtual Van Gogh exhibit.
Wow, that's cool.
Speaking of Netherlands.
So,
Yeah,
Rock,
Dutch people.
what would you like to be remembered for? Like
Well, I have a mastermind group where I help people get unstuck and become financially free. So we've kind of coined a phrase of how to become a whole life millionaire. And what that means is that you get to go from the left side of the quadrant to the right. You have cash flowing assets, so you don't have to work. But you haven't given up your health to get there, and you haven't given up your relationships. So we focus on becoming a better communicator or a better father or mother, daughter, son, while gaining your wealth. And so I've helped 75 people cross that chasm to become whole life millionaires. And the legacy is about if one person in the family becomes a whole life millionaire, there's a ripple effect on the entire family because they've had to become more ritualized in doing good things like getting up early and meditating or working out, journaling. And so that affects everybody in the household. So my work with that one individual has now this effect not just on that family, but on their children and for generations to come. So my hope is that as I help one person become a better quality person, if I could use that word, then it has a ripple effect on their entire family. And so I have families where they had a sick child that they couldn't spend time with, and now they're financially free, so they retired and they're spend time with their child while they run their businesses. And when you get texts from people with a shot of, like I just did on Father's Day, of all of them hanging out together at one of their Airbnbs that they bought and run, and they have 2 boutique hotels and went from, CPA to entrepreneur. That's what I'd like to be known for, is having helped affect the family, not just help people become rich, but
helping people thrive,
right,
become passionate,
right,
and successful.
yeah.
I love it.
And thriving is not just measured by net worth, it's by everything.
Yep.
And the whole sum of everything in your life. Family relations, friends, caring for other people.
Helping others,
Yeah,
making a difference.
and
And
being
caring.
present, right? Being
Saving the
present.
planet,
Saving
One
the
show
planet.
at a time.
one show
Yeah.
at a time.
Exactly.
So your kids, have they followed in your footsteps? Would you say that?
I'd like to believe so. My son is 29. He's got his first child, and looks like he's a great dad already, spending quality time with him. He's successful as a realtor. He owns a lot of different properties. His wife is a dentist, and so they're a
Nice.
handsome, well-formed couple that are resourceful and loving. And my 2 girls are the same. They're both in great relationships, and my youngest daughter is a model and an actress and is dating an NHL hockey player.
Nice.
Go Habs, go.
Yep. And my other daughter is dating a very successful gym owner, and she's a videographer. And so they're all healthy. They all work out. They all take care of their bodies. They're all. And I grew up in a household where I felt like I was bullied. I played the victim, of course, but I raised my 3 children to have each other's backs. So they're not allowed to bully each other, talk negatively, even sarcastically. Oh yeah, easy for you, because none of that. Mm-hmm. It's all about admiration, respect, support, encouragement, celebration. And so when we all get together, it's a little bit like the Brady Bunch or whatever. There's just a lot of love. There's a lot of support, and there's a lot of admiration for each other. And I think that if you can't feel safe with your family and have each other's back, life's tough enough. Yeah. So at least have a safe place you can come to where somebody else is going to go, I got your back, I'll support you or I'll help you, and they'll encourage each other in business. So that to me is, I broke the cycle of that happening in our family, and I think that's important. I think that's your job and my kids will do a better job than I did. Right?
Yeah. Everybody gets to start a new cycle.
Right.
That's their choice.
And then
ultimately,
it gets a little bit easier, hopefully, and a little bit more loving. And so I'm proud of my kids. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, that's a pretty good legacy. I think most people would be proud of that.
Yeah. My son is already doing really, really well investments, and he's got great relationships with people. And At 29, he's way, way past where I was. And that's the idea, right?
Yeah.
I love it. So if somebody comes to you, and how do they find you, Rock Thomas, and for them to learn all your skills? Is it this mastermind?
Rockthomas.com or any social media, Rock Thomas. You'll find me on the usual Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all of the above. It's kind of like a necessary evil for me. I don't necessarily love social media, but it's the way we communicate with the world today.
It is.
And so I'm on all of those.
And as you're trying to make a difference and trying to help people, you can reach them on those platforms.
Yeah. And I have a podcast called Rock Your Money, Rock Your Life. So you can find me on iTunes. And I interview a lot of cool people and talk about, how they created their wealth and their story. And I have a YouTube channel. You can follow me there, get a lot of free content. So there's lots of outlets.
That's fantastic.
So before we end this, I'd love to hear just a few tips that you, or common denominators between successful business people, women, men, that are financially free.
Well, for me, I think one of the first things is you need to be a good steward of money. Most people are not. And so the difference between wealthy people and non-wealthy people isn't how much they make, it's how they manage their money. And most people have really no concept of that. They pay this, they pay that. I work with thousands of people and I ask them, do you do a budget? And 99% of them don't. They'll give me a vague answer. Well, I got an idea, this or that. And so that's problem number one, is if you don't tell your money where to go, you won't know where it went. So number one is manage your money. And I say 20 minutes a week minimum, ideally 20 minutes a day. I don't know about the two of you. Maybe you have so much money you don't need to manage it. You can get to a point where it doesn't really matter. I go to a restaurant, I don't even look at the bill anymore. I don't care, right? There's a time when I had to. But for most people, you need to spend 20 minutes a day is what I would encourage them to do. If you've got stock investments or crypto, and like my crypto account went down $100,000 in the last 4 days. I wasn't really paying attention. And I just have Dogecoin and it dropped, and it doesn't really matter to me because I'm playing it long anyway. But if you're in the game where that matters to you, you need to pay attention.
That's your full-time job, yeah.
Right. It needs to be your full-time, part-time job,
Yeah.
right? So every day you do something. So that's the basis of what we teach. There's lots of ways that people waste money too. Number one is food. So if you're trying to make ends meet and you're struggling, look at how you spend money on food. And then it amazes me that people that are making $30,000 or $40,000 a year, and this will sound kind of weird, but they have a pet. And most pets will cost you quite a bit of money. They're going to get sick. They need shots. They need checkup. They need food. They need this, that, the other. And so you're making $30,000 a year, but you're spending $6,000 a year on your dog. That's probably a luxury that maybe you want to postpone until you have cash flowing assets that could pay for it. Or you may never get ahead. So there's a bunch of things that I help people with depending on where they're at.
I only laughed because they are so expensive. Dogs are.
Right.
I love animals and I love dogs, but it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how many times our dogs had to have eye surgeries because
Right.
we had sharp cacti in our backyard.
Right.
And what are you going to do? You have to save their eye.
My dog recently got into some painkillers, and I had to rush him to the vet and get his stomach pumped. And it's like $400, and it doesn't matter to me now. But for people that are barely getting by, it's always like, oh my God, oh no, I got to change the tires on my car, and they have to think about something you're going to give up. And they usually give up things like going to the dentist and things, but those have a long-term effect. And 2 years later, you get a root canal. Guess what? That's so painful. You're going to now not get the tires changed on your car for a year.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get into an accident because your tires are bald. It just compounds, right?
I mean, to put a point on it, right? You should go, if you're that close to the line, go buy your groceries. Don't be getting fast food, and don't get Uber Eats and put on another $20. And don't get 2 big boxers that'll eat more than you do every month.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's exactly my point. Yeah. And that's what people do. Because they don't have a plan, they don't have a vision, they don't have an idea. They think it's only $5 for Starbucks today. But I had an employee that would come into the office every day with a Starbucks, a sandwich, and a Dr. Pepper. and then at lunch would order Subway. And I made a salad at home, right? And would make my own coffee. It cost 40 cents or something, and then eat a salad at lunch. And I'm $20 ahead from her. A day.
Was this when you were
This
the
was
cab
like
driver?
no. This is like 6 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't work for me anymore for other reasons, but I still, now I have staff that makes my salads, but I still eat healthy and make it at home. It's very rare I'll order in, just because I don't like the quality of the food most times, and I don't need to spend the money.
Yeah, that's a good way to end it.
Well, I love all your advice, and we'd love to have you back on. There's so much to learn, and thank you, RV and Go. Do you want to do another quick little commercial for RV and Go?
Just remember www.rvngo.com. If you've got an RV, you might want to make some money on it instead of it sitting around. So turn your asset that's maybe draining you money and turn it into a moneymaker. Or if you're an individualist, first of all, one of the cheapest ways to go traveling. But by the time you add up 4 airfares for the kids and hotel rooms, just go in an RV, and it's a lot cheaper than the bill you're going to get by trying to start a bonfire in a Holiday Inn room. So go RVing at rvngo.com.
I love it. Turn it into a cash flowing asset. That's what I'm talking about.
Exactly. That's what we're all about. We're
Well, maybe our
empowering
next
people to do
show
that.
we'll do one in an RV.
Sure.
So, and I want to touch back on that different people have different priorities of what they enjoy and what they want to prioritize their money with. Some people like to travel. I mean, you've spent money on traveling,
For sure.
and you probably still will. You don't feel like that's wasteful.
No, I actually divide my life into 6 bank accounts, and one of them is for fun,
Okay.
and one of them is for education,
Okay.
necessities, and give. But what most people don't do is they don't divide them that way. So I can look into my fun account, and I've got plenty of money to go traveling, and so I need to use that up. I look in my education account and I go, okay, what coach do I want to hire? What book do I want to buy, et cetera? But most people have it all in one bundle, and they just take whatever they're in the mood for. And because we're taught to be consumers, not investors, I'm tired. It's Friday night. I hate my job, and so let's go out to dinner. Spend $200. You made $500 in the week in one night. You can spend $200. You just lost, right?
And don't forget the taxes.
I guess I'm kind of bringing this up because sometimes my son will say, or my kids will say, "You're always eating out, and you waste so much money eating out." Well, that's something that I do enjoy. I am single right now, and once again, I don't meet guests for my show at home or in my bedroom. So it's a place for me to go, and I like meeting people.
It's part of your business, though, right? Is you meet people, you're out, you socialize. Other people maybe have to cold call to find their clients.
I never do that.
You just go out and meet people.
Yes, it's just like
So,
magic.
Yeah.
Whether it's on a hike but I enjoy. I'm a foodie, and and I like to drink wine.
Yeah.
But you might see me with the same purse for 15 years. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I have girlfriends that they change their purse every day.
Right.
I don't care about a purse. You might see me wearing the same shoes.
Right.
For a whole month. But I like to spend money on food. So is that okay if we can have our fun money be something
Yeah,
like
100%.
food? If that's
as long
if
as you
that's
know
our-
what you value, it could be whatever you want it to be. As long
Right.
as you don't run out of it at the end of the month and then get yourself into trouble and have back taxes and stuff like that,
Yeah.
So it's
No.
it's just have a plan, know what you value. And I like to travel. I travel first class, and I stay at nice places, and then I go eat on the street for $1. But I'll still stay at a really nice 5-star hotel.
Well, I do that too.
Right.
I do that too. But you'd be surprised if you went and spent a few days with me out and about. I'll know everybody, and I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I just like that.
Wow.
Would you agree? Is that true?
Sure. Of course.
Or rent an RV and enjoy yourself and have that pleasure of doing it. But maybe you don't need to own it. But you rent it
You're
for
gonna rent
a
it.
week, and you have an amazing time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Just have a strategy for your life and have a plan a little bit. Most people don't.
Actually, I have an exciting trip for us in August to take the RV to Oregon.
Are we planning this on the fly now?
I am, and I'm going to invite you, and you'll want to meet this person.
All right.
She's going live with it, so we have to commit.
Yeah.
See how she works?
Yeah.
She's very sneaky.
I think we're going to tell them to end the broadcast 5 minutes ago.
Can we cut that part out?
Anyway, I hope everybody rents an RV from RV and Go and check out Rock Thomas and
That's great.
thrive. Let's thrive.
Yeah,
Yes,
let's change
everybody
the planet.
thrive. Yeah.
One show at a time.
All right.
Bye-bye.
That's great. Bye-bye,
All right,
everybody.
ciao.